Hi friends, Prepared Suburbanite back at you. First of all, I'd like to just say a big thank you to all the folks that commented on my last video. A lot of great suggestions, an awful lot of support that I didn't really realize was out there. And I'm grateful for all the folks that took time to say all the nice things that you did. So, looking forward, I'm going to try to recommit. I am going to recommit to trying to produce videos on a regular basis, and I haven't really decided exactly how that needs to be, but a number of folks commented that there's just you can't do it once every 2 weeks or so, and they're absolutely right. The algorithm that YouTube uses to promote videos and all that kind of stuff obviously seems to be geared against folks that have a conservative thought. So, but I'm not going to really worry about that. I'm just going to look to my audience to continue to like, share, and subscribe to the videos that are upcoming. But let me get to what's been on my mind today. Obviously, you've all heard, if you've tuned into the news recently, that the Colorado Supreme Court has decided to remove Donald Trump's name from the primary, and I'm a little concerned about how that came to be and what it's going to mean for the future. So I've got a whole bunch of thoughts on that particular topic. So I'll be right back after the intro. So the Colorado Supreme Court has made their determination that Trump is obviously guilty of an insurrection based on what happened on January 6th. And they've decided that he doesn't qualify under the third section of the 14th Amendment that says he's engaged in insurrection and therefore is ineligible to be on the ballot, ineligible to be elected as president. There's some interpretations about the kind of funky wording in the 14th Amendment. I don't think that's really going to be a viable argument, because I have to presume that the president is an officer of the United States and took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. So that argument kind of flies out the window. But this just goes to show you that the bottom line is the Democrats are absolutely desperate. The left is absolutely desperate to keep Trump away from becoming president again, and they are willing to take extraordinary measures to do that. And it's truly amazing. And I've listened to an awful lot of commentary from guys like Jonathan Turley and a few of the other legal pundits out there, and they're all basically saying the same thing. This group of 7 unelected judges in the Colorado Supreme Court have overstepped their bounds, and they're just unelected. And what right do they have to determine who the citizens of Colorado can vote for? There's a point there to be made, I think, but I'll expound on that in just a little bit with some additional thoughts I've got. The bottom line, well, I guess from my perspective, and I listen to Tim Pool on occasion, pretty much little 10-minute snips here and there from his daily podcast, and he made a very, very interesting point. and I think this one troubles me more than anything. The Supreme Court, obviously Trump is going to appeal this Colorado Supreme Court decision to the full federal Supreme Court. And Tim Pool has said out loud his thoughts on this. This is a private issue. This is not a federal election issue. It's not a state election issue. It's a GOP primary in a state. And does the federal Supreme Court have jurisdiction over what a private party can do? And he used the example of maybe running for the president of your bridge club, and somebody takes exception to your running for president and decides that to keep you off the ballot, and you run to the Supreme Court and they say, well, we don't get involved in these private matters. This isn't what the Constitution says our job is. So they may just say, look, it's out of our purview. If the state Supreme Court looked at this, and I guess that's the way it's going to be. And I think that that's a pretty damning possibility that could happen out there. And there are also a number of other states that are contemplating doing the exact same thing. So that gets me to my thoughts about Supreme Court, our Supreme Court. And as you know, it's been under attack by the left, by the Democrats, every which way but loose. You think about what they did to Brett Kavanaugh. It was just absolutely terrible. And what they did to Clarence Thomas a few years ago, and Joe Biden was a big player in that one. The attacks on the Supreme Court, what they're doing to Clarence Thomas right now, these ethics investigations and subpoenaing witnesses and folks that are friends of the individual Supreme Court justices, they're under attack. And as you and I both know, that there is activity, to say the least. I guess there may be more than activity to pack the court, and that means adding a whole bunch more members, however many they all agree on the left-hand side. But they're going to increase the size of the court. That's what their wish is, to increase the size of the court by packing it with liberal justices. Whether it's 13, 15, 17, whatever, that's what they're going to try to do. So they're going to find all these liberal judges. They're going to push them through in a Democrat-controlled Senate, which is what they've currently got. And they could actually change that. There's no constitutional mandate on the number of justices we have on our Supreme Court. So they're going to try to do everything that they can to make sure that they've got all the advantages in all three separate and co-equal branches of the government. So my next thought is, are they truly co-equal branches of government? I'm not so sure. The argument that folks are using, the pundits are using on the Colorado Supreme Court is, how do these unelected justices get away with what they're doing? Well, I'll tell you what. We've got 9 justices, and none of them are elected. They're appointed, they're confirmed by the Senate, but they're not elected to anything. So that argument kind of falls by the wayside when you look at the construct of the Supreme Court. Now, what's some of the other problems with our Supreme Court? Well, here's one thing that slaps me right in the face. They don't have an enforcement arm. What they do have is an ability to react, but not be proactive. Oh yeah, they've been proactive in the past. Yeah, Roe v. Wade, the reversal of Roe v. Wade. So there's some proactivity that can be alleged with regard to some of these decisions that the Supreme Court has made. But they don't have an enforcement arm. It's not like they've got a big police force or anything that can go out and say, well, you're up against our mandate, up against our decision, like they did with the student loan thing with Biden. They said, no, you can't forgive student loans. And he just went right ahead and said, see you later, and I'm going to just start forgiving student loans and try to put a whole bunch of word salad things together. And the Supreme Court is powerless to do anything. If you look at what was going on with the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin case that established a standard for what can be done with respect to the Second Amendment and our right to keep and bear arms, it didn't seem to stop any of the states that went ahead and just said, and we're going to just go do it anyway, and we don't care. Now, if the Supreme Court had an enforcement arm where they could haul these folks in and put them in jail, put them in prison, take away their jobs, whatever, that could, I think, add some things. The Senate and the House do have some kind of recourse with respect to defying subpoenas. They can hold you in contempt. They can do all kinds of cool things like that. The executive branch under the president has obviously a whole bunch of police agencies that they can use to enforce whatever it is that they want enforced, but the Supreme Court is left out there defenseless, I guess, with respect to being able to enforce its own decisions, which is supposed to be the highest court decisions in the land. So there's something to contemplate with that. Can the Supreme Court be proactive? That's, I guess, the second thought that I've got with respect to what may be wrong with the current construct of the Supreme Court. Can they be proactive? No. They can only be reactive. They can only react to somebody filing a lawsuit, having it make its way up through all the various levels of courts, and finally getting to the Supreme Court, and then they say, well, we'll take it, or we won't take the case, and that's it. But do you think that the Supreme Court could ever jump out there and say, hey, what you just did in Colorado, sorry, you can't do that, and we're going to take a proactive stance and shut you down? No, they can't do that either. So, are they a co-equal branch of government? I don't think they are. Now, if the left and the Democrats get their way and they pack the court, I've got something that I think you may want to mention to your senators and representatives, that if that is ever put on the table in an official kind of a way, whether it's an amendment to the Constitution or whether it's some kind of a law that gets passed and signed by the president, that if the left is successful in getting 15, 17 justices packed onto the court, then I believe that the court should be allowed to be proactive, and that any single piece of legislation that's passed by the House, by the Congress, by the Senate, and is making its way to the president's desk, or even after it gets there, before it can be enacted into law that the Supreme Court has to take a look at it and make sure that it's constitutional. And that's not happening now at all. They can only wait until somebody challenges whatever law ruling there is, and then the Supreme Court can decide whether to take it up or not. So if we're going to pack the court, by God, let's give the Supreme Court the tools that it needs. Let it become a proactive, co-equal branch of government. Now, what's this got to do with prepping? I think we all need to be very aware of what's going on in the current political environment and really take to heart exactly what's happening to our rights, to our country, to our freedoms, to our liberties, and make sure that you know what you're getting into and know what's going on out there so that you can become proactive with respect to your rights and liberties. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always, and I'll see you all on the next one.